Loading. Welcome to Access the Animus.
Here, at last, we made it. We finally found the proper way to fully crack the mystery of the Isu language in Assassin's Creed Valhalla and to obtain the famed Nodens Arc bow. Hey everyone, and welcome to the unexpected third part of our analysis of the Isu language here on Access the Animus. We left you 2 weeks ago with somewhat of an unfinished business, with a lake to find, an untranslated sentence, a set of undeciphered numbers, and, pretty much, an ultimately unsolved mystery. In the meantime, a lot has happened. Joe Raptor reported how to obtain a powerful Isu bow in the game from an unbreakable rock through some unorthodox methods. Narrative director Darby McDevitt stated that such method was a clever brute force hack and not the proper inward method. This ended up on the gaming press, the community reacted to this, and we had somewhat of a hint publicly by the author of the language himself, which, at least for us, sparked everything else. So, in this video, we're not just going to show you the proper steps to obtain the Nodens Arc Isu bow in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but we're also going to show you the reasons why said steps are required. So once again, and this time it should be the last one, at least for what concerns Valhalla's main game, let's dive into this new chapter of the Isu language and what you need to do in order to obtain the Nodens Arc bow. So yeah, in case you didn't follow the events happening within the Assassin's Creed community recently, in one of his videos, YouTuber Joe Raptor reported, and you should totally check his video which you can find in the description, he reported a way to obtain a First Civilization bow in Assassin's Creed Valhalla through a repeated use of the saving and loading functions. Until then, nobody knew that this bow, called Nodens Arc, was tied to the Isu language written on the items of the collector's edition of the game, but in a moment we'll show you why that is actually the case. One day after Joe Raptor shared his video, narrative director Darby McDevitt commented, as we mentioned earlier, that there was actually an inward proper way to obtain the bow, and this opened the floodgates. Fans on Reddit tried to work out this proper method, YouTube videos started popping up, hey JV, and a lot of you came to us wondering if the bow could be actually tied to the Isu wording on the collector's edition, and yes, you were right. So, in order to understand what you need to do to get the bow and especially why you need to do it, as it happens with the solutions to almost any problem, you need to find out the where, the when, the how, and the what and who, which as we'll see, will come together. So, we'll start with the what. You might remember from our previous videos that there was a sentence in the Isu language on the collector's edition box which we couldn't fully translate. In fact, we left it as the key is the, with a doubt about its last word. Now, that word could actually be found again on the collector's box, but by the release of our last video, we could only guess what it could mean. In the days following the release of our videos, we were actually prompted both indirectly by Antoine Henry, the creator of the Isu language, and directly by our friend Sunny, to reconsider this approach, especially because on the collector's box, on top of the word we were missing, very much hidden amidst the crow design, is the shape of a sword, and not just any sword, that is Excalibur. So, by association, we hypothesized that this word could actually mean sword or Excalibur or Sword of Eden in general. Thus, the sentence would translate to the key is the sword, or as we mentioned in our previous videos, the tool to not lock, or better yet, the tool to unlock is the sword. Up until this moment, that was an assumption, but sometime after that, we checked the description of Excalibur in-game, and as you can see, it mentions that the sword is said to be able to break anything. So we guess we were on the right track, as you don't break much more with Excalibur within the game, which led us to believe this as a confirmation for Excalibur to be the tool that would break the rock, as well as a validation about the how, that is by wielding and swinging Excalibur. Here we also got the who, which is kinda obvious, it's Eivor, but at the same time, we initially thought that the description of the sword mentioning that it has to be wielded by someone with the makings of a king could be a hint to us needing some sort of kingly item in our inventory, but that wasn't the case. After all, King Arthur was made king because he got the sword, so the sword, as we'll see, will be the only tangible thing we need. We then moved on to the where, and, well, we already knew that through Joraptor's video, so we don't need to explain too much here. It is a lake in northeastern Warwickshire, but if we didn't know about this through the brute force hack, how would we know? We did know that something was hidden inside or within a lake, but that was it. So, we now believe that the information about the where depends on the Isu numbers placed on the steelbook of the collector's edition. You might remember from our previous videos on the Isu language that we identified these markings as numbers, as they were introduced by the small dots, but now we also saw that they are written in a very specific way. This series of numbers is written horizontally in this direction, while this series is written vertically in this direction, one digit over the other. Because of that, we got to believe that this was a set of numbers that could be interpreted as coordinates. Now, it would be pretty inaccurate to try and use real-world coordinates in an in-game and especially handcrafted map, and sadly we haven't been able to get the numbers to make sense yet anyway. But here, the most recent video by JV about this mystery might come in handy in the most unexpected of ways. As a matter of fact, he did report that some fans identified the shape of the lake where the bow can be found as very similar to the shape of the island of Singapore. What we believe here, and again it's not confirmed, is that the coordinates not only point to the real world Singapore, but more specifically to the Ubisoft Singapore studio, which is placed, compared to the Singapore map, in the exact same location where the rock containing the Nodens Arc bow is placed, compared to the area of the lake. And you know what the kicker is? Well, the region of Warwickshire was developed by Ubisoft Singapore, and the Isu language was designed by Antoine Henry, who works, of course, at Ubisoft Singapore. So, at this point we had the who, the what, the where and the how, and yet we have seen many videos and comments by fans stating that they used Excalibur on the rock and it did not break. That was because we were all missing the when. In fact, as we'll see, you'll have to use Excalibur at a specific time of the day in order to break the rock. Which one? The answer lies once again on the collector's edition items, in this case on the lithographs. You might remember from our previous videos that putting together the lithographs in a specific way made it so that a new Isu word could appear, which we translated as now. That translation was correct, but the mistake we made was to use it connected to the lake sentence, making it sound as hidden inside this lake now. Instead, that word had a different use for a different meaning. In fact, if you look at the back of the lithographs, two of them have this symbol with the Assassin's Creed Valhalla logo, while one of them, instead, showcases this design of a sun. So, by moving the lithographs close to one another to form the word now, you get to cover the sun. This means that now is when the sun disappears, meaning at sunset. So yes, at last we have finally found our when to. So, with everything we have learned, we can finally go to that lake, reach that rock and wait till the sun sets. And we have to be very precise, we have to swing right as the sun sets. After all, it did say now. So there you have it, this was the proper way to obtain the Nodens Arc bow. I mean, you just had to understand the Isu language in order to use it to translate some unknown words and numbers which were just bare hints and which, coupled with an in-game description and a super clever way to tell the exact and extra precise time frame, finally lead to the reward. No biggie, right? We really hope you enjoyed our third video on this mystery and especially the journey we took together to get to that final reward properly. And once again, kudos to all the developers that were involved in crafting this mystery that held us captivated for so long. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking it, subscribing to our channel and turning the notifications on so you won't miss any of our future updates. Thank you for watching. Now we really need to go to sleep, and we're hopefully going to see you in our next video.